Okay, so you sent over this whole llama.cpp project, bunch of files, code, configurations, all that.
Yeah,
It's pretty deep in the technical stuff,
it is.
but that's why we do these deep dives, right?
Absolutely.
So think of this as your like cheat sheet to figure out what's going on in this repository.
Yeah, it looks like right off the bat that it's taking Facebook's Llama model and basically recreating it in CC++.
So instead of using like Python, which a lot of AI stuff uses, they're using a language that's known for being really, really efficient.
Right.
Why would they do that?
Well, one of the documents actually cuts it out, llama-cpp.pdf.
Okay.
It's a port of Facebook's Llama model in CC++.
Mm-hmm.
And CC++ is all about speed, squeezing the most performance you can out of the hardware,
Yeah.
which is super important when you're talking about these massive AI models.
Totally.
They take a lot of power.
Yeah. So it's got to be more than just making it run fast, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
What can you actually do with this llama.cpp?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. There are a few different ways to use it.
Okay.
So you can use it through the command line. They have some tools for that, which are great for just kind of quick experiments.
Yeah.
They actually even renamed the main command line tool to LlamaCli
Oh, interesting.
to make it really clear what it is. And there's Llama embedding and a few others.
So the command line stuff is cool if you're just messing around, but
Right.
what if you want to like build something more with it?
Yeah.
Like an app that uses llama.cpp or a service or...
Right. So they have you covered there too.
Okay.
There's actually files for building a Llama server.
Interesting.
So you could actually integrate it into your own projects pretty seamlessly.
So you've got flexibility in how you use it.
Exactly.
But we both know that these big AI models use a ton of resources.
They do.
What does llama.cpp do about that?
Yeah. So deep learning models are notorious for needing a ton of compute power.
Yeah.
Llama.cpp is no exception.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look closely, you'll see they talk a lot about using GPUs.
Yeah.
Specifically, NVIDIA CUD and Kubernetes.
So having a beefy graphics card is going to make a big difference here.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
A good GPU can just speed up the processing dramatically.
Yeah.
Make the whole experience a lot smoother.
That makes sense.
But they're also using a technique called quantization to optimize the model itself.
Okay.
And you'll see terms like Q40 and Q80.
Mm-hmm.
And these refer to different quantization levels.
Hold on. Back up a second.
Sure.
What exactly is quantization?
Basically, it reduces the model size and the precision of its calculations.
So you're kind of putting it on a diet?
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay.
It's a trade-off, of course.
Right.
But it can lead to some big performance gains.
Okay.
And it can even potentially allow the model to run on hardware that's not as powerful.
So it's like you're finding this balance between accuracy and efficiency.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And that seems to be a big theme throughout this whole project.
Got it.
They're going for power and accessibility, which is pretty impressive.
We've been talking a lot about text, but
Yeah.
there's this Lava subdirectory,
Yes.
and there are some references to image processing using something called CLIP.
Right.
Is there more to llama.cpp than meets the eye?
That's one of the most curious things I found too.
Uh-huh.
CLIP is a model that connects images and text.
Okay.
So it seems like they're really exploring ways to go beyond just text-based AI.
So we could be talking like image captioning, creating stories from pictures.
Yeah.
Maybe some sort of like a visual chat bot.
All those things are possible.
Wow.
It's clear that llama.cpp has the potential to be way more than just a language model.
Yeah.
It could be a really powerful tool for doing these multimodal applications.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we go too far down that rabbit hole, let's go back to the code itself.
Sure.
What's it like to work with?
So there's a file called repository structure rekonovllama.cpp.json.txt
Okay.
that lays out the project structure.
Okay.
And it's really well organized.
So they're not just throwing code over the wall and saying good luck.
No, not at all.
Okay.
There are directories for testing, examples, and even really extensive documentation.
Wow.
It shows they really focus on maintainability and good developer practices.
That makes sense given how open source it is.
Exactly.
But working with these models can be a little tricky.
Yeah.
Have they addressed any security concerns in this repository?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
There's a security.md file that talks about the potential risks,
Okay.
especially when you're dealing with models or inputs that you don't necessarily trust.
Mm-hmm.
They really emphasize sandboxing and making sure you sanitize your inputs really carefully.
So it's not just about raw power. They're
No.
also being responsible and guiding users to be security conscious.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot here.
We have.
Speed, flexibility, security, even hints of some really cool multimodal capabilities.
Yeah.
Before we move on, is there anything that stood out to you in this initial exploration?
Honestly, what impressed me the most is how they're balancing this really powerful technology of these large language models with this commitment to accessibility.
Right,
You know, it's not just a tool for experts with tons of expensive hardware.
right.
They're trying to make this technology available to a much wider audience.
That's a really great point.
Yeah.
It made me think, what about mobile devices?
Oh,
Is that even possible?
that's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
And I think it's one that we should definitely look into.
Okay.
I mean, given how much they've focused on optimization
Yeah.
and making things run efficiently,
Right.
it might not be as far-fetched as it sounds.
Running these powerful AI models on our phones.
Yeah.
Maybe the future's closer than we think.
Maybe so.
Well, we'll have to dig deeper and see what we can find.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll uncover even more about this amazing world of Llama.cpp.
One thing that keeps coming up is just how much work they put into
Yeah.
making this thing run fast.
It seems like every little detail has been
Right.
optimized.
Yeah.
Like they really went deep into the performance benchmarks.
Hmm.
It wasn't just a single test.
Right.
They were testing different parameters, different numbers of threads, GPU layers, all sorts of things.
Yeah, they wanted to know how those things would impact the performance.
Right, and they documented everything,
Exactly.
which is really helpful.
It is.
There's a table in llama-cpp.pdf that shows how, like, the size of the KV cache and the number of batches can really impact the speed of text generation and
Right.
prompt processing and all that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't, super technical, what is a KV cache?
It's basically like the model's short-term memory.
Okay.
It stores information that's recently processed, so it doesn't have to go back and recompute everything.
Okay.
And adjusting its size can actually make a big difference in how fast the model responds.
So it's not just about having a fast model, it's about giving users the tools to fine-tune it for their specific needs. And they even have like instructions for how to install pre-built versions of llama.cpp using package managers like Homebrew.
Right. For people who don't know, Homebrew is this package manager for macOS.
Right.
That makes it super easy to install and manage software.
Yeah.
So the developers are saying, look, here's the easiest way to get started. You don't even have to compile everything from scratch.
It's all about lowering that barrier to entry.
Absolutely.
And that seems to be a theme with their approach to quantization too.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just trying to make things fast, they're trying to make sure that even if you don't have the best GPU,
Right.
you can still experience llama.cpp.
And that's really cool.
I also noticed that they've been careful about backward compatibility.
Yeah.
There's a little note in llama-cpp.pdf about how they've renamed some of the core files.
Yeah, they did some renaming.
Like main is now llama cli and server is now llama server.
It's a small thing, but it shows they care about their users.
Right.
They're trying to anticipate confusion
Yeah.
and make things clear.
It's a sign of a healthy project.
It is.
Okay, well, we've been talking a lot about the technical stuff.
We have.
But I want to know, what are people actually doing with this thing?
Oh, yeah.
Are there examples?
Absolutely.
Okay.
One that stood out was a script for building a chatbot.
Oh, cool.
It walks you through how to use llama.cpp to create a conversational AI, and you can customize the prompts
Oh, wow.
and even give it different personality settings.
So you could have like a chatbot that's like a helpful assistant
Yeah.
or like a sassy pirate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
They even give you sample dialogue
Oh, that's cool.
and tips on how to structure the conversations.
Wow.
It's a great place to start.
What else?
There's a Jeopardy example.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they're trying to build an AI that can compete on Jeopardy.
No way.
Yeah, there's a whole project to test how well the model can answer trivia questions.
I would love to see it go up against like Ken Jennings.
I know, right?
That would be amazing.
It shows you just how versatile llama.cpp can be. It's not just generating text, it's about understanding information
Right.
and responding in a meaningful way.
Which brings us back to those multimodal capabilities.
Right.
That Lava directory and all those references to image processing with CLIP. Are there any concrete examples of how those are being used?
So there's this section in llama.cpp.pdf that talks about Lava and how it uses image embeddings.
Okay.
Essentially, they're finding ways to represent images
Okay.
in a way that the model can understand.
So it's like creating a bridge between the visual world and the world of language.
Exactly.
What could you do with that?
Imagine being able to ask questions about an image.
Okay.
Like, what kind of bird is this?
Wow.
And having the AI give you an accurate answer.
That's pretty amazing.
Or even have it generate a story based on a picture.
Wow.
Remember those command line tools we talked about?
Yeah.
There's one called Llama Matrix that's specifically for working with these image embeddings.
So they're giving you the tools to build your own multimodal applications.
That's right. The possibilities are pretty much endless.
This deep dive is quite a journey.
It is.
We've covered so much.
A lot of ground.
From like the really technical details to the real world applications.
It's exciting stuff.
It is. Are you ready to go even deeper in part 3?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
You know, as we keep digging into this, Llama.cpp,
Yeah.
it's not just the code, it's the community too.
Right. It's like an entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
Tons of resources for developers at every skill level.
And it seems super collaborative.
Right.
Like they have a really good contribution guide.
I do. Yeah.
That explains how developers can get involved.
That's always a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Shows that they're encouraging people to contribute.
Yeah.
Which keeps things fresh, keeps things moving.
Yeah, and it's not just about like writing code. It's
Right.
about sharing ideas and coming up with new features.
Like they have this whole section for research tickets
Oh, yeah.
where users can propose new directions for the project.
That's cool.
It's like tapping into that collective intelligence of the community.
Right, and they're not just like throwing ideas around.
Yeah.
Like there's a structure to it.
Yeah.
You can see the motivation behind each idea,
Mhm.
possible implementations,
Yep.
what stage of research it's in.
Exactly.
It's like a mini research lab built right in.
It is.
I'm also impressed with how they handle the details of software maintenance,
Oh, yeah.
like how they deal with binary file name deprecation,
Right.
which might seem like a small thing.
Not just the popular ones.
Right. So whether you're using an NVIDIA GPU,
Right.
an Apple device, or something else entirely, you can still use Llama.cpp.
It's about giving developers options
Yeah.
and recognizing that different people have different needs.
And they even included instructions for building and running Llama.cpp on Android,
Oh, wow.
AI on our phones.
That's a game changer.
It is. It's pretty ambitious,
It is.
considering how limited mobile devices are.
But it shows how dedicated they are to making things run well.
Imagine the possibilities.
Oh, yeah.
Powerful AI assistants right in our pockets.
It would change everything.
This deep dive has been really amazing.
It has.
We've uncovered so much about this project.
A lot of cool stuff.
It's technically impressive, but also community-driven, security-conscious,
Yeah.
and committed to making AI accessible.
What stands out to me is just how dedicated they are to the user experience.
Right.
The documentation is great. They have those migration notices.
Yeah.
They really want to make Llama.cpp